Stop scrolling. If you're on Social Security, or you plan to be, what I'm about to share can directly affect your monthly income, your timeline, and how smoothly you get help when something goes wrong. March is a month when a lot of confusion spikes. People see a deposit that looks smaller than expected, they hear rumors about extra checks, they run into longer wait times, and some get blindsided by overpayment letters. The worst part is that many people don't find out what's happening until after the money hits, or doesn't hit, their account. Today I'm going to break down what's really going on, why it's happening, and what you can do to protect yourself before a small issue turns into a big financial problem. Stay with me until the end because one simple step I'll cover can prevent months of headaches if you ever need to dispute a payment, fix an error, or fight an overpayment. Welcome back to Senior Security Benefits. I'm George. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or Medicare, or you're helping a parent or spouse navigate it, subscribe and turn on notifications. I post updates like this constantly and I break them down in plain English so you can act before you get blindsided. This channel is built for everyday Americans who need clear answers, not rumors and panic. Let's start from the beginning so we're all on the same page. Social Security has been part of American life since 1935. It was created so retirees, disabled workers, surviving spouses, surviving children, and other eligible family members would have a dependable base of income. Today, tens of millions of people receive a Social Security payment every month. That means when anything changes, policy, staffing, Medicare premiums, identity rules, overpayment collection, it doesn't impact a handful of people. It impacts families in every state, in every town, and across every income level. So what's behind the March stress people are feeling right now? It's not one single thing. It's multiple pressure points hitting at the same time, and when they stack up, it feels like the system is suddenly unstable, even when the underlying benefit rules haven't changed. The three biggest drivers are administrative strain at the Social Security Administration, the net check issue caused by Medicare deductions and withholding, and the increased attention to overpayments and repayment collection. First, let's talk about the Social Security Administration itself. SSA has been operating under staffing shortages and heavy workloads for years. When an agency that serves tens of millions of people loses experienced staff or can't fill enough positions, the result is predictable. Longer phone waits, fewer appointments, slower claim processing, and less time per person. That doesn't just create frustration, it increases the chance that errors go uncorrected, and it makes it harder to fix problems quickly when they happen. If you've been trying to reach SSA lately, you already know what I'm talking about. People can spend hours on hold, field offices can have long lines, and even simple issues can turn into multi-week delays. Second, let's address the "my check shrank" issue, because for many people, the benefit didn't technically get cut, but the deposit they actually live on is smaller than expected. The most common reason is Medicare Part B premiums. If you're enrolled in Medicare Part B, that premium is usually deducted automatically from your Social Security before the money is deposited. So the number you see hit your bank account is your net benefit, not your gross benefit. If Medicare premiums went up this year, or if you were assessed an income-related adjustment amount, sometimes called IRMA, your net deposit can be lower even if Social Security had a cost of living adjustment. Many retirees feel like their raise disappeared, and in a lot of cases it did, because it got absorbed by healthcare costs. And Medicare isn't the only deduction that can quietly change what lands in your account. Some people elect federal tax withholding from their Social Security checks, especially if they have other income like a pension, part-time work, IRA withdrawals, or investment income. If your withholding is set up, your deposit will be lower by that amount. And if you changed withholding recently, or your tax situation changed, you may notice it more in the spring months when you're thinking about taxes. Now the third issue, and the one that can be the most financially shocking, overpayments. Overpayments happen when SSA pays someone more than the law says they should receive. Sometimes the beneficiary caused it without realizing, like returning to work and not reporting earnings quickly enough, or a change in living arrangement for SSI, or a dependent no longer being eligible. Other times SSA caused it. Paperwork delays, processing errors, data mismatches, or system problems. But regardless of fault, SSA can attempt to recover the overpaid amount once it identifies the issue. Where people get blindsided is when an overpayment notice arrives and the repayment terms feel aggressive, like a large chunk being withheld from the monthly check, or in some situations the threat of full withholding until the debt is repaid unless the person takes action. If you live on a fixed income, even a modest reduction can mean you're choosing between food and prescriptions. That's why you need to know this next part. You have rights and you have options, but deadlines matter. If you receive an overpayment notice, do not ignore it, and do not assume you have to accept the default repayment terms. You can request a lower withholding rate if the proposed amount would create hardship. You can file an appeal if you believe the overpayment decision is wrong, and you can request a waiver if the overpayment was not your fault and repayment would cause financial hardship. The letter will tell you what your deadlines are, and acting quickly can protect you while SSA reviews your request. The biggest mistake people make is doing nothing because they're overwhelmed. Silence is what turns an overpayment letter into a crisis. Now I want to talk about inflation and why so many retirees feel like they're falling behind even when they receive annual COLA increases. COLA is designed to help benefits keep pace with inflation, but the inflation measurement used for COLA doesn't always match the real-world spending patterns of seniors and disabled individuals. A retiree's budget is often dominated by housing, utilities, healthcare, insurance, and prescriptions, categories that can rise faster than the average basket used in inflation calculations. So even when you get a COLA, your real purchasing power can still shrink. That's not you imagining it. That's a real squeeze that happens when expenses rise faster than benefit adjustments, especially if Medicare premiums also increase. On top of that, there is longer-term uncertainty that keeps showing up in the news. The trust fund projections and the question of whether lawmakers will act before the system faces a larger funding gap in the 2030s. I want to be careful here because a lot of headlines are designed to scare you. Social Security is not disappearing. Even if trust fund reserves were depleted, payroll taxes would still come in and pay a large portion of benefits. But yes, without policy changes, the system could eventually face a scenario where scheduled benefits exceed incoming revenue, and that's where you hear the talk of an across-the-board reduction if Congress does nothing. The key point for you, today, is that the short-term issues people are facing in March are mostly about administration, deductions, and overpayment handling, not an overnight legal cut to everyone's base benefit. Now let's talk about new claims, because this is where the administrative strain becomes personal. If you're applying for retirement benefits for the first time, the process can feel slower and more complicated than you expected, especially if you need an appointment, you need identity verification, or you need documents to prove eligibility. If you're applying for disability, the timeline can be much longer, and delays can be devastating because people often have no income while waiting. The system has always moved slowly, but staffing strain makes it worse. That's why it's critical to apply as early as you're allowed, and to respond quickly to any request for documentation. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? First, set up your My Social Security account at ssa.gov if you haven't already. This is one of the most important steps you can take. It lets you see your earnings record, check benefit estimates, view notices, and monitor your account without waiting on hold. And it helps you catch errors early. Your earnings record matters because your retirement benefit is calculated from your earnings history. If a year is missing or underreported, your monthly check can be lower for life. Fixing that after you're already collecting is much harder than fixing it while you're still working or right before you file. Second, keep copies of everything. Every letter, every notice, every document you submit, every receipt. If you ever need to appeal, request a waiver, correct an error, or prove you reported something on time, documentation is your protection. Create a simple folder, paper or digital, and keep it organized by year. This single habit can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars later. Third, be scam aware. Whenever people are confused or scared, especially when stimulus, extra checks, benefit suspension, or verification starts trending, scammers ramp up. SSA will not call and threaten to suspend your benefits. SSA will not demand gift cards, wire transfers, or crypto. If someone contacts you claiming to be from Social Security and pressures you for personal information, hang up. If you're unsure, call SSA using the official number, 1-800-772-1213, or go directly to ssa.gov. Do not trust inbound calls, texts, emails, or links. Fourth, don't be afraid to involve your congressional office if you're truly stuck. Many people don't realize this, but your senator or representative has constituent services staff who can help you navigate federal agencies. They can't magically approve a claim that doesn't qualify, but they can often help push a stalled case forward, clarify what's missing, or get you a response when you can't get through. I also want to address a question I hear constantly. Are Social Security taxes going to change? There are always proposals floating around, some to reduce or eliminate taxation of benefits, others to change thresholds, others to adjust payroll tax caps. As of now, you should plan based on current law. Depending on your combined income, some people pay federal income tax on a portion of Social Security benefits, and more middle-income retirees get pulled into that category over time because the thresholds were never indexed for inflation. If you're not sure whether this applies to you, ask a tax professional to run the numbers, or review your prior year return to see how Social Security was treated. And for SSI recipients, I want to be clear. SSI is not the same as Social Security Retirement or SSDI. SSI is a needs-based program with strict income and asset rules. Administrative delays and overpayment recovery can hit SSI recipients especially hard because SSI households usually have little to no financial cushion. If you're on SSI, report changes quickly, keep documentation, and don't ignore notices, because small reporting issues can turn into big problems later. Finally, I want to zoom out for a moment. Social Security isn't just a check. It's a promise and a foundation. It supports retirees, disabled workers, widows, widowers, and children. When deposits are delayed, when net checks shrink due to deductions, or when overpayment recovery hits unexpectedly, the ripple effects go beyond one person. It affects caregivers, spouses, adult children helping parents, and entire households. That's why understanding the system is not optional. Knowledge is protection. So here's the bottom line for March. If your deposit looks smaller, check Medicare and withholding first. If you're experiencing delays, know that staffing strain and processing backlogs are real, and you may need to plan extra time for appointments and decisions. If you get an overpayment notice, take it seriously, act quickly, and use your rights. Appeal, waiver, and lower recovery requests exist for a reason. And if you do nothing else after this video, create your My Social Security account and start keeping a folder of all SSA letters and documents. That one step can be the difference between fixing an issue in days instead of fighting it for months. If this helped you, hit like and share it with someone who relies on Social Security or is about to file. Subscribe to Senior Security Benefits so you don't miss the next updates, because this story is evolving and I'll keep covering it clearly and consistently. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.